This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Ed Edmundson, and he's running for state delegates in the state of Maryland, which is called District 15, which includes the place that I live in, Potomac. Thank you very much. You happen to be my neighbor.
That's right.
Now tell me why you're running it and what do you bring to the table that other people don't have it?
Well, why I'm running is it's something I've always wanted to do all my life. I have been involved in politics and I've loved reading autobiographies of John F. Kennedy and Franklin Roosevelt and everybody since I was a kid. I've always wanted to do it.
And both are Democrat, you're Republican.
That's right.
Okay, but both are great Americans.
That's right.
Where?
That's right. And so I've always been involved in politics, but it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. And fortunately, at this time in my life, I have a little bit of both. And so I felt like the time was right now.
Good.
And then for why I'm running also because, you look at what's happening in politics today, and we have the left side listening to their media, and we have the right side listening to their media, and we have the gerrymandering of the districts, and we have social media amplifying everything. And I felt like the country is just getting separated further and further apart, more polarized. And I felt like there was a place for somebody in the middle, somebody who knows how to compromise, who knows how to work with the other side, a practical Republican, if you will, practical politician who really just wants to get things done. And so I just felt like it was really the right time to run.
You're new to politics.
I am. This is my first time running. I have supported campaigns, I've helped campaigns, I've followed campaigns, but this is really my first time in front of the camera.
What are the major issues that if you are elected, if you're fortunate enough, what would you do when you get to Annapolis?
There's a number of issues.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, number one, I want to make Maryland a business-friendly state.
So it is not a business-friendly state?
No, not right now.
Not right now.
And I say that.
And why is that? Why is all business going to Virginia?
For a number of reasons.
Okay, tell me.
One is Virginia is a little bit more of a business-friendly state.
Okay.
The example that I give is Maryland, and particularly in Montgomery County, we're located right next to Washington, D.C., this job-generating machine. Companies are going to look at tax rates, they're going to look at education, they're going to look at quality of life, they're going to look at transportation, and unfortunately today, too many of them are selecting Virginia. So one of the things that I'm proposing is to get our tax rates in line with Virginia. We don't, even a little bit above Virginia is okay, but right now we've gotten a little bit too high.
About corporate taxes, the personal taxes?
Both, corporate and the top rate on the personal taxes. The separation, we're at 8.95% in Maryland and 6% in Virginia, and we need to bring those corporate rates down. We need to keep them in line. So that's an important issue. But the example that I get is I've gone door to door, but I call it business door to door. I go talk to small businesses, the bagel shop owner, the beauty shop owner, and I ask them,
what are their major issues besides taxes? Transportation?
No, you know what it is? They say it's the attitude that government takes towards my business. Okay. Why do they have to pick on me? Why can't they be supportive? Why can't they be helpful? Why do they have to think I'm the enemy?
That's a common sense.
Yeah, it's just common sense. And when I was out talking to voters, when I go door to door and I ask them about education, they say, our education system's pretty good. It's pretty good. It can be better, but it's pretty good. And I talk about transportation. I said, I would like for transportation to be better. But when I go talk to small business owners, they just start shaking. They're so upset.
So there's a lot of, in addition to the taxes for a small business, the issue is also that we're not very friendly.
It's the attitude.
Business friendly.
It's the regulations. It's the attitude.
Regulations.
Regulations.
There's a lot of regulations.
It's a lot of regulations.
And cost of doing business.
Regulations are good. Sensible, smart, efficient regulations are good. I'm not opposed to regulations. I want to be clear. I want to define the swim lanes and then let companies compete. But it's also the minimum wage. It's
minimum wage.
Yeah.
You want to increase the minimum wage, or you want to get to the $10.10?
I want to keep the minimum wage consistent across the country and across the state.
Which is what?
Right now it's 7.25.
Well, it should be $10.10.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. What I don't want to do is have, and my background is in fair trade. I have been trying to increase the wage rates of women in Nepal so they can have a living wage.
Nepal?
Nepal. I go to Nepal 2 or 3 times a year, help them make handbags. Our motto is trade, not aid. I want to empower women in Nepal to earn a living, make money. And here, if you have a different wage rate in Montgomery County than you do in, let's say, Frederick County, it'll be so easy for so many businesses just to move across the border or move across the river to Virginia. We have to keep a consistent level playing field.
Okay, so what about income inequality and justice in America?
It's one of my most important issues. I have been going to the Goody Men's Homeless Shelter. This morning I met with a number of people from Cornerstone, which is all about mental health. One of my number one issues is eradicating the school to prison pipeline in public schools. Right now we're suspending too many students. There's nothing more important to me. I think that is the role of government. It provides a safety net, but it also needs to provide a vehicle to help people help themselves. And we don't do enough of that right now. And yeah.
John, Ed, excuse me, I meant to say Ed. I apologize for that. You're running for the state delegate in the state of Maryland, which is the Potomac and Gettysburg area.
All the way up to Clarksburg, Germantown and Boyd's and
So
Poulsford.
look at the audience in their eye and tell them why you're running it.
Key reasons why I'm running is to make government work again, to reach out to voters and let voters communicate to me and I communicate back to them. I update them. I make promises. These are the promises that I will make to the voters, and then I will keep voters up to date on the progress that we're making. And when we're having an obstacle, when we're having a problem, I want voters to know what it is so we can take that voter action to help overcome these problems. When I went out and I first started to run, people didn't know who their state delegates were. I'm going to be out every day meeting with voters, helping voters solve problems. We've got to move this state and this country forward, and we can't keep doing it if our politicians are not out there talking to voters and working with voters. And technology is a key thing. So my background is technology. I was in the internet industry from '96 to 2001, and today I have an e-commerce business. I know how to develop software. I love writing software programs. I love writing code. My website is a campaign. It's all about I had it developed for this purpose, so voters can reach out and communicate with me, and I can communicate with them, and we can keep them up to date. I've created an online data vault of facts and documents and information for each issue. So I say, here's
what are the critical issues that are facing that district?
There's a number of them.
Okay.
The obvious ones are jobs, transportation, the environment. Those are the big ones. But then what I've also looked at
education.
Education is number one.
Education is number one.
And number one.
You talk about the K through 12 education or pre-K education or both? And higher education.
All of them.
All of the above.
Let me tell you, of the ones you've just mentioned, the one that I'm most focused on is universal pre-K education.
Yeah.
If you spend $1 in universal pre-K education, you get $12.90
I
back
agree
over the
with
lifetime of that for the social benefit. So education is number one. Even within education, we have to pay our teachers more. We're not.
What about training the teachers?
Absolutely. We cannot do enough. If we spend the money, the social benefit cost of spending the money on education, we will get an ROI, a return on investment, 10 times over if we spend the money on early education. And the most important thing we can do for early education is spend money on teachers. We need to start attracting the best and the brightest teachers to this profession. Our kids are not competing against other kids from the United States. They're competing against kids from China, from India, from the Netherlands.
We live in a global economy.
We live in a global economy.
There's no question about that.
And we have to, our education system's good. It's not quite as great as it should be. And we've got to keep investing in our teachers, because the teacher is the person who can influence the children in the classroom more than anybody else.
So where would you get the money to fund education, make it more affordable, accessible? Where the money is going to come from?
A number of sources.
I don't want to raise the taxes because you talked about not raising the taxes.
No, you don't need to. It's a question of priorities.
Okay.
And here's the example that I give. And I've taken a lot of flack from this, but I say that, and this is across, my background is in business, so I'm used to working with cross-functional teams. I don't believe in operating in silos. We have county government, we have state government, and we have federal government. I believe that our state delegation needs to work with our federal delegation to bring more money into Montgomery County. Right now, if you look at how much Montgomery County contributes $4 billion a year to the Defense Department. We have $4 billion a year from Montgomery County goes to the Defense Department. The next war we're going to fight is an asymmetrical war. We're spending $2 billion on a B-2 bomber that we're never going to use. So I believe that if we reduce our defense spending just a little bit,
which is not consistent with the values and the mission and the vision of the Republican Party.
I am saying that our Defense Department is designed for the fight the last war.
That is true.
The next war that we're going to fight is an asymmetrical war. We have to worry about somebody coming over, being funded and coming over the Mexican border with a backpack on their back and a dirty bomb. And that is not, we don't need a B-2 bomber. We don't need an M1A1 Abrams Bradley tank to prevent that. We have to spend more money on shoring up our borders. We have to spend more money on with the CIA and with preventing the terrorist attack. That's our threat. And we can take some of that funding and we can put it into education. But also, I go to the teachers and I say, right now, would you be willing to, right now, the teachers have a pension plan. It's $39.6 billion underfunded, the state employee pension fund. It's only 62% funded. The $300 million that was cut from the savings from the pension plan that was supposed to go to shoring it up was not used for that purpose. It went to the general fund. I would like to propose that teachers switch to a 401k, a defined contribution plan instead of a defined benefit plan. And the savings from switching to that type of pension
so
plan.
they have to make a contribution to the 401k in order for them to match. In order for them to do that, their salary has to be increased.
Exactly.
And that means the money has to come from somewhere to support that.
Right, and it's multiple sources. It's a matter of priorities, it's a matter of funding. We've gone from $29 billion budget 10 years ago to a $39 billion budget this year.
In the state of Maryland.
In the state of Maryland. So we have dramatically increased our spending, but I don't think the teachers have been getting dramatic increases in raises. We have casino revenue, we have money coming in from the from gas tax, we have the rain tax.
But the gas tax hasn't been increased that much.
The gas tax has been increased, and in fact it just went into effect, I think July 4th, they increased the gas tax a little bit.
But at the state level or at the federal level?
At the state level.
Yeah.
And my point is that there is money, it's a matter of priorities, and if you ask me, our number one priority should be our children. It should be our children's education. And
they are the hope of tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what would you do to create the environment for them to excel, this next generation?
I'll give you, you have to look at it, you can't look at it holistic, or you can't look at it globally. You have to look at, let's take this, African American students and Latino students. African American students, 6% participate in STEM programs. 6% take algebra.
What about the dropout, 40%?
Well, here's the problem. It's called eradicating the school to prison pipeline. What happens is, particularly with African American students, they go in elementary school, 1.7% are suspended. When they go to middle school, that number jumps up to 11%. There's an 80% correlation between suspension rates and incarceration rates. We've got to end the school to prison pipeline, and the ways to do this are very clear. They're well documented. They're on my website. There's been a lot of research. I've talked to a lot of people. There are things that we can do. One is just increasing the number of African American male teachers in middle school. It's not expensive. It's just a matter of priorities. And so to incarcerate a felon in Maryland for 1 year costs $40,000 a year. So
we got to reduce that. So we don't have to spend that money.
And if we spend the money on education, early childhood education, the social benefit costs through confidence, through competitiveness, people can get jobs. If you have an education, your future is unlimited. But if you don't get that education early and you don't get started on the right track, then it's going to be difficult. And I absolutely want to focus on early education.
K through 12 as well as the pre-K education.
Absolutely.
What about getting a partnership with the federal government and trying to get some money from the federal government to fund the pre-K educations?
Absolutely.
And President Obama has proposed that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Department of Education was founded in 1974. It's a relatively new department.
Yes.
We've had the Defense Department since before the founding of the country.
I
so
would
we are
say so.
very used
well,
to federal.
Because we had a lot of war.
Right, exactly. And we're used to funding the federal government funding the defense. But why? And we have a lot of voters who are seniors, and we've made health care an important funding priority. And what I want to do is try to increase the priority of education. I want to make education our top priority.
Maryland is a blue state.
Absolutely.
Not even a purple.
No,
not a red. And you are Republican and red.
Yes, sir. I would like to I really don't believe in labels. There's an organization called No Labels, and I am a fiscally conservative, socially moderate Republican.
Fiscally conservative, socially moderate Republican.
Fiscally responsible.
Fiscally responsible.
I don't believe that taxes are the answer. I don't believe handouts are the answer. I believe government.
So you not believe entitlement. Do you think that there should be a partnership between the public and the government?
Absolutely. A functioning government requires it. A functioning government requires a knowledgeable, involved public. Otherwise, you don't even have a democracy.
Right.
Really
so this is how the democracy flourishes.
Exactly.
And the capitalism grows.
Exactly.
So why your Republican colleagues on the other side of the aisle do not subscribe to those notions?
I can't speak. I can speak for myself.
You can speak for yourself.
And I can tell you why I'm running. And the reason I'm running, I'm running against David Frazier Hidalgo, a friend of yours, probably Aruna Miller, and Kathleen DeMay. I've met them all. I like them all. When I'm elected on November 4th, I will work with them. I will work with the other side of the aisle because to get things done. That's just my philosophy. I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm not trying to say whether I'm right or wrong. I just want to agree on a common solution. I want to agree on the steps in the process to get it done, and I want to get it done and move on to the next problem. I'm all about efficiency, and I'm all about getting things done. And that is just, for my 24 years in business, that's what we did.
So that's what you bring to the table.
That's what I bring to the table.
A problem solver.
Rational,
working
common
together.
Sense. Exactly.
Common ground.
You've been in business. If you're in, I worked at a company called Net2Phone.
Sure.
We had a partnership with ICQ. We had to put our messenger in the ICQ. They asked me, they said, you got to build out a global data network in 18 months. I got the engineers together, I got the sales guys together, I got everybody together, said, guys, here's what we got to get done. Let's figure out how to get it done. And everybody said, we can't do this.
That's the best way to do it.
We are going to get it done, and I promise you we're going to get it done. And we got it done. And that's it. We just work together, you share the vision, you share the goal, and you figure out the step-by-step process to get it done, and then you just manage that process and get it done.
I want to ask you a personal question. You're from Louisiana,
yes,
but you don't have a Louisiana accent, correct?
That's right. Well, some people say I do.
I don't know, but it was hard for me to distinguish that. And your wife is Indian.
That's right. Yeah.
So how did you guys meet, and what do you think of the future is together?
We met, actually we met on a plane. On a plane. I was flying from New Orleans to Dallas.
Yes.
She was, I was moving actually from New Orleans to Dallas. She was moving from Dallas to New Orleans, and we were on a flight from Dallas to Houston sitting next together on a Southwest airline.
And that's how you got engaged.
That's how we got engaged. And
you started talking.
Yep, 20
Did
years.
you find a common ground to work together?
Actually,
with
I
a
would
different
say,
background and belief and caste and creeds?
Absolutely, but I just it's very much I've learned that it's so much easier just to not even really fight for common ground. We've had a great relationship. 20 years in December 26th, we're going to celebrate our 20th anniversary. We got married in Bombay. We're going back to
Bombay's in India.
Mumbai.
Yeah.
Well, back to Mumbai.
They keep changing the name.
Yeah, and for 20 years, and so it's
wow.
been great.
Well, congratulations, and I wish you good luck with your campaign and good luck with your anniversary.
Thank you.
And as you undertake this journey.
Thank you.
And that is a journey.
It is.
Thank you very much for coming, Ed. I appreciate it, and keep doing the good work.
Thank you for having me.
It's a noble cause.
Thank you.
And it's important to be engaged politically as you are.
I agree.
And serve our country and our community.
Thank you.
And do well, but do good.
That's it. Thank you.
This is Frank Islam, wishing you a great week. Thank you for watching our show.